Welcome back to the Goal Line Stands 32 for 32 NFL Preview Series. I am Michael Lipinski. Unlike yesterday, I know who I am, and I know my name. That over there is Brett Halpern. And we are talking Miami Dolphins football today on our 32 for 32 NFL Preview Series. Dolphins had a big offseason, and they may or may not have gotten their quarterback of the future there, Brett.
Yeah, I think they did, and it's funny how everyone was always tank for Tua, and well, they didn't necessarily tank completely, but they still got their guy.
Yeah, they still got their guy. They didn't have to go the complete tank mode, and we're going to get into it when we get to their draft. But let's take a look at the Miami Dolphins of 2019, 5-11, fourth place in the AFC East. Not super hot. But I'll tell you what, I really like some of the acquisitions that they made. And it shows me that they're kind of going in a specific direction. And we talked about this on our draft recap show. I thought they had a good draft. There's a clear direction in Miami. Is it enough to win that division? Yeah, maybe now. And that's a bold statement. I mean, they would have to get significantly better. But the mood has changed in a division, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think that what you see here is sort of it reminds me a lot of what's going on in Detroit. There's a lot of former Patriots that are on this team now, and a lot of guys. I think another theme that you could see both in terms of acquisitions as well as draft picks. Got a lot of guys who are very physical. Maybe not necessarily the fastest. I don't know if they're necessarily going to win a relay race, but you have a lot of guys who just, come up and stick you in the mouth, and just real physical players. Guys like Kyle Van Noy, Landon Roberts, and then Shaq Lawson, Manuel Agba. I think that those are some good additions, to create not only starters, but depth and good rotation along the defensive line with linebackers. Matt Breida, I thought, was a really good running back for the Niners. He's going to pair with Jordan Howard, who I think underwhelmed last year in Philadelphia. Would you agree with that, Mike?
I do agree that he underwhelmed. I don't think that he necessarily fit the Philadelphia Eagles system. And it also didn't help that you had a rookie running back just emerge and become your go-to guy. But the Eagles have also been very much I don't want to call it a running back by committee team, but there's always an odd man out here and there, and he seemed to be the odd man out. There was questions about his health, whether or not he could. Was he healthy and just not playing? Was he hurt? I like him though as a running back. Tough runner.
Yeah, I think he's a good runner, and I think him and Breida, it's a good 1-2 punch. And then Byron Jones is clearly the is the diamond of that acquisition class, so to speak. It was a very good corner for Dallas, and also could play safety. Tremendous athleticism out of UConn, and he's going to pair very well with Xavier Howard in that backfield. And in terms of departures, Taco Charlton was on the second team. He's just a guy who really underperformed. He was a former first-round pick. Rashad Jones was a safety who never quite lived up to the billing. So in terms of, they didn't really lose much in terms of departures. In terms of their COVID opt-outs, I think that's an area where it definitely will hurt the wide receiver room. Those are two guys who, while not considered their top target, were guys who were expected to contribute. So I think that that's really going to hurt the wide receiver group.
Yeah, I think especially Allen Hurns. He's a guy that he's one of those sneaky type players where he'll make plays as needed. And
yeah,
we're going to get to the quarterback a little bit later, but any quarterback would want to have a guy like that on the roster and actually playing. whether that be Fitzpatrick or whether that be Tua. And we're
Yeah.
going to get to that when we get to our 4 burning questions for the Miami Dolphins. But let's get to their draft. Look, outside of Tua Tagovailoa, I liked it. I really liked what they did.
Yeah, again, I think one of the themes is they got really tough physical football players. And so, and I'll skip down a little bit. Guys like Robert Hunt from Louisiana, I think he has a shot to come in and maybe even start at guard right away. Real physical guy. Raekwon Davis is a gigantic man. It's like 6'7", 6'8", about 300 pounds, going to come in, rotate along that defensive line. Solomon Kinley at Georgia, real physical guy. Jason Strobridge, Curtis Weaver, again, very not guys who. And, we talk about this a lot with draft prospects. You're like, oh, this guy's an athlete. These guys are football players. I think Curtis Weaver led the Mountain West Conference in terms of sacks, but he was sort of considered an odd man out because he didn't have the traditional build of a defensive end. Well, that's something that, a guy who comes from the Bill Belichick coaching tree, they don't care about that. They just care about your production, not necessarily what you look like.
Doesn't this thing have Bill Belichick all over it? I mean, I'm just looking at the 6th and 7th round pick. Long snapper, and everyone looks at it, sees wide receiver Malcolm Perry, Naval Academy. And anyone who's not in the know is like a wide receiver from Navy who's a quarterback at Navy. All ACC Offensive Player of the Year, all first team All American, whatever they call that now, formerly known as Big East. 2017 rushing yards by a quarterback in 2019 as a naval midshipman. If you want to talk about a guy, he might not make the team. He's probably going to be a practice squad guy, but that's a Belichick type pick right there. You guys want to talk about Jalen Hurts that can do funky different things at quarterback. Here you go.
Yeah, that's true. By the way, isn't it interesting? So if you play in the AAC and you're in the first team all conference, you're first team all American.
Yeah, you're an all American.
You're an all American. It's like, hey, I'm an all American. That's kind of cool. But anyway, so yeah, that is definitely a Belichickian pick. A guy. It's Swiss Army knives, right? It's about good football players and Swiss Army knives, guys who can do multiple things, guys who are physical and who play sound football. And now, in terms of their first round picks, they had 3, and I gotta tell you, I like all of them. Tua, I really like. I likened him to a left-handed Drew Brees. Now the biggest issue with him is health, and not necessarily the hip per se. I think the hip, in and of itself, has supposedly healed quite well, but in general, just his frailty. Because this is a kid who has been injured several times throughout his college career. So, that is an issue in terms of long-term viability. Austin Jackson is a kid, and I remember talking about him in our mock draft show. I really like, and this is he really needs, I think, a redshirt year. He may be forced to start this year. If he starts, it's okay because he's going to get experience, but I think physically he probably needs another year of development. Mike, I think you remember he was the one who sat out for his spring workouts because he was donating bone marrow to his sister. So, I think it was almost unfair to completely judge him based upon his performance because there's a guy who missed a lot of development. He's really young. I think he may have just turned 21 or he turns 21 during the season. He's super young. Then Noah Igbenogany from Auburn is a great athlete who is, I think, as time progresses, is going to grow more and more comfortable as a cornerback. His family is tremendously athletic. I think either his mother or father was an Olympian, just great athletes. And he's, has great size, really good physicality. He's a good tackler, which is, again, another Belichickian kind of, trait that you need. So I really like what the Dolphins did here. Is it going to mean that they win the AFC East this year? Probably not, but I think you can see what they're building. And I would, if I was a Dolphins fan, I would be encouraged by the acquisitions, at least most of them, and then the draft pick.
And
The draft picks.
Yeah, we're going to get to that with our 4 key questions for the Miami Dolphins in 2020. We're going to ask the fans the theoretic question, and feel free to comment down below. On question will be question number 2, but let's get to it. 4 key questions for the Miami football Dolphins in 2020. Not that there's a baseball Dolphins, but hey, anyway. Over under 6 games started for Tua. This is an interesting one.
Yeah. Now, if I'm a Dolphin fan, of course, I want to see what Tua can do. But truthfully, given everything going on, particularly this year with COVID, given the injury history, given what I said about you're breaking in several offensive linemen and how young Austin Jackson is, I would be rooting for the under. And I think if I'm the coaching staff, I try to stick with the under. Now, he could appear in more games if they're, mop up duty one way or another. Maybe, you throw him a series here and there. But assuming Fitzpatrick is healthy, even if they are, winless, I would honestly just stick with Fitzpatrick right now. This is a kid who could use a year on the bench. Just seeing the game.
This needs to be a red shirt year for him.
Yeah.
And just like you laid out, that doesn't mean that he can't play completely, but it's time to sit back, hold the clipboard, stand next to the coach, and have a conversation about everything that's going on and learning that way. Sure, maybe you get him some reps here and there, but if I'm a Dolphins fan, I agree. I'm going to root hard for the under. I want this to be a guy you don't want him to get beat up any more than he already has been the past, 2 seasons at least.
Yeah.
From college. Let him get his feet wet a little bit, but unless he just comes in and lights the world on fire, which could happen, but I highly doubt it. That's going to move us to question number 2. And we alluded to it. And fans, Dolphins fans, you're out there. We see you driving around all the time. Your jackets, your bumper stickers, all over the Northeast. You're there. You and the Washington football team. You're all over. So we can all agree right now the Dolphins are probably not a playoff team. As a fan, what's the most important thing for you?
I mean, these are kind of general answers, but as relates to them, I think it's the development of younger players and also just to develop cohesiveness and see which units kind of start to thrive. Like I said, an Austin Jackson, Robert Hunt, these offensive linemen who you brought in, get them experience, let them learn the physicality of the NFL game, and let the other guys start to learn essentially what the schemes are of the offense and defense. I think that's really any experience that these guys get now is going to benefit, starting next year and the year after when they could really be a viable playoff threat.
Let's talk defense a little bit for the Phins. Which area of the defense has improved the most to you?
I think the secondary. So you had the addition of Byron Jones, the drafting of Noah Igbinoghene. You pair him up with Xavier Howard. Ereck Rose, a bit of a question mark at free safety. Eagle fans definitely know that. But I think that Jones, Howard, and Igbinoghene are just really talented. So I think that secondary will definitely prove to be a viable unit, as the season progresses and as this team continues on in the next few years.
And this question is geared right for you. Ereck Flowers, really? A lot of money to Ereck Flowers.
$30 million. Know. So look, the one thing I will say is, to his credit, he turned his career around to a certain extent, and he is a far better guard. They're paying him as a guard, not a tackle. But I got to tell you, after suffering through the Ereck Flowers era of the New York Giants, I don't understand how you could pay this guy $30 million. This is a guy who literally would fight coaches or take naps. He's not really amenable to coaching. I think he succeeds as a guard simply because he's so physically big. But his technique has not improved. It is the exact same technique that he had when he graduated from the University of Miami back in 2014, 2015, whenever. We didn't graduate, but he came out as a junior. This is just not a guy who takes the coaching, and particularly with Brian Flores and the Bill Belichick ways, I just don't see how that fits in. Perhaps him returning home might make sense,
Right.
because he's from the area. Maybe that's a benefit, but I think they drastically overpaid, and this is not a guy I would want in my locker room.
Well, I don't know about that. As an Eagles fan from far away, I'm not sure. I'm going to miss the turnstile, though. So that is what it is. We're going to discuss the Dolphins further when we get to our big NFL prediction show. This is a preview show, the prediction show, where we will discuss where we think the Dolphins are going to end up. We're both very high on them. Maybe not this year, but definitely in the future. Be sure to follow us on all social media up there in the upper corner at GL Stand Show. Subscribe to this here program. Throw us a subscribe, a thumbs up, and a comment. We would appreciate that. We're going to have more content throughout the year. You're also going to see a little button up there for In the Fight. That is our mixed martial arts, wrestling, boxing program. We've had a couple interviews with some up-and-coming fighters. A lot more coming on that front. So if you're a fan of MMA, boxing, or pro wrestling, check that out as well. I'm Mike. Got that right. That's Brett. We will see you tomorrow when we discuss. I got to get my fireman hat on when we discuss the JETS, Jets.